Would any sane person stay? Owner of the San Francisco restaurant that first opened up as a breakfast joint in 1953 and became a staple caterer to downtown tech giants, shuts down for good and blames the city for not supporting business owners. This is the HRD Coffee Shop. It's a good story. It's a local story in San Francisco. It's not a big chain. It's what we got going on. It's the micro. Let's get into it. Here we go. The owner of a beloved San Francisco restaurant that opened more than 60 years ago has decided to close shop for good, blaming the city for not supporting business owners amid a homelessness crisis and the aftermath of the pandemic. HRD Coffee Shop opened its doors in 1953 as a modest establishment, serving workers in the city's downtown area, and eventually became a staple caterer to tech giants like software company Salesforce. The restaurant even appeared on the Food Network several times, with Guy Fieri trying one of its famous Kimichi burritos. That sounds aggressive, a Kimichi burrito. I don't even know what that would taste like, but I don't know. I'd be willing to try one. I mean, if Guy Fieri says it's good, right? But Sidney Sadian, its current owner, told the San Francisco Standard the situation in the city became untenable, and he and his advisors decided to shut down the place back in May. I would love to remain in San Francisco as a business, but the question is, would any sane person, ? Sadian told the outlet. Good question. Would any sane person with a shred of sanity either open up a business or look at a long-term outlook in San Francisco and go, yep, that's for me. This is what I'm going to do. this is going to be my calling. I'm just going to see if I can get a business through the next, 24 months here in San Francisco. It'll be a challenge. I'm up for the challenge. Yeah. So, these business owners, here's a picture of Guy Fieri. And, there we got the standard homelessness. The businessman explained that the restaurant suffered great losses during the pandemic shutdown of the city, and they were not even allowed to set up outdoor dining. According to Sadian, the business was losing as much as $20,000 per month. Moreover, he said the restaurant's landlord did not play the right game with us during the pandemic. A lot of landlords didn't. They're just like, no, you still got to pay your rent. We've got a contract, that whole contract thing. But the pandemic doesn't matter. Got to pay. I mean, that's kind of the way it goes. And that's why the economy should have never been shut down. That was just some real nonsense. And people always say, yeah, but I had 4 people in my family die from COVID. I'm like, yeah, okay. Get the people out of the way that we knew were going to have an issue if they got it. Let everybody else work, because the vast majority of people are going to make it through and it's going to be okay. So the impacts, what we're seeing now, are the impacts of shutting the economy down 3 years ago, right? Because it was in 2020. And, we didn't really think through, well, what's really going to happen here? One of the biggest impacts we're seeing, and we will see, could be globally from that. The most negative impacts is the whole work from home thing. And it's because it's a situation that just kind of happened. Businesses were forced to work from home. Your employees got used to it. And now the employees are saying, I don't want to go back to the office, especially in downtown XYZ, whatever city, that the downtown sucks now. Why would I want to go there? I want to stay at home and, play with my dog and, make nachos at lunch. I'm totally making stuff up, but that came from the pandemic, right? And so now you've got the doom loop cycle going in the urban cores. We're just going to have to see how that plays out. And that one to me that's a slow rolling train wreck that we're following, because it's wildly changed how much commercial real estate businesses need in the downtown core, specifically the downtown core. I've talked about this. I just recently renewed the lease here on my office space here in Bellevue. And you know what? I didn't get a deal. You know why? Because most of the office space here in Bellevue is kind of single story. It's medical. We've got a bunch of medical stuff around us, optometrist, healthcare. We've got a finance company next door. We used to have a chiropractor next door. It's that kind of stuff. It's not Salesforce with 3,000 employees taking up 14 floors of a high-rise building. And that kind of real estate I'm in hasn't changed much. There's still strong demand for it. And a lot of that has to do with I'm already in the burbs. I'm in Bellevue. I'm in the burbs already. That's where all the people went home to work because that's where people live. They don't necessarily work in the downtown cores. And so when they, poured out of downtown Seattle, they went home. Here I am. And so, yeah, I just did a 2-year extension. Not much of a discount. Did I have any discount at all? I don't even know. It was just like, I didn't want to recreate the studio, so I'm just like, fine. Yeah, I'll sign it. And that's what we're doing. The business also had issues with California over taxes. Interesting. Really? Tax issues in California? You mean like you were paying too much? Like what were you getting for your tax dollars that you were paying? I can understand that. As well as the city's waste department and a homeless encampment near its doors. Now we're getting somewhere, right? Now we're getting somewhere. I was looking at a video of a woman in Portland trying to sell her home, and there is a pretty good sized RV/homeless encampment across the street. And she's like, the city's got to clean this up because I can't sell my home. And it's like, okay, but were you one of the same people that probably said, hey, let the homeless live wherever they want? They're not doing anything wrong, until you realize they're just basically a bunch of drug addicts that are just, scheming the system. Were you one of those people? Because you're the reason that the city has allowed all of these encampments to take place. And now you've got this massive situation and the mayor is trying to figure out what to do. Are we going to, criminalize fentanyl, or are we going to criminalize, living on the streets, or what are we going to, there's all this back and forth. Crazy times. San Francisco's downtown area has suffered a huge loss of business and tourism as the city deals with a crime and fentanyl pandemic. Some of the stuff that Mayor Breed in San Francisco is throwing out as an option, it's like, I get it. She's trying to do something. I'm going to give her that. She's trying to do something. But if you've been around real estate, some of her suggestions, you're like, manufacturing in downtown San Francisco. Okay. All right. Okay. We'll see that. University in an office complex building. All right. Okay. Yeah. Lab space. Okay. Yeah. You just got all these different requirements for these different spaces. And most of the time it has to be done at the time of construction. Trying to do a retrofit on any of this stuff just isn't going to work. But that's what you've got. You've got mayors going, what in the world are we going to do here? Because we just got a bunch of drug addicts running around. This isn't good. And in San Francisco, the finance district is pretty close to the Tenderloin. And the Mission. Not looking good. So the article goes on to talk about Westfield Mall, which we know all about. While the HRD's last day of business was last Friday, the official closing date is tomorrow, June 30th. That sucks. One of the reasons I wanted to read this story is I find the history of businesses just fascinating. Like, how did you get to this? Like, how the name HRD, it's a good one. The restaurant was founded over 6 decades ago by Ben Chan, a Chinese immigrant who opened up the breakfast place in what used to be the U.S. Social Security Administration's Human Resources Department, HRD, during World War II. Good Lord. And it's taken all this. How many major wars has this thing seen? And it made it through. And here we are, 2023. And everything's, we've got so much more technology. And you got guys like this guy, living on the street, shooting himself up kablooey with drugs. And it's sad, isn't it? Chan reportedly chose the name of the restaurant after he was asked what he would call his new business. Because the business had the letters HRD, referring to the former Human Resources Department office, he went with HRD. Now, some of the backstory there is that he wasn't able to speak English. He basically had no English. And you move here, you learn a language somewhere else, China, wherever it is, and you come to the U.S. and you are hustling. Somebody asks you what name you want. Oh, give them that one. I mean, if I was looking at a bunch of Chinese symbols, I'd say that one, because, I don't have that skill set. I'm not able to speak that language. I'll take that name. Give me that one. And it stuck. HRD. I think that's just amazing. It's just kind of like, all right, that makes total sense. How'd you get your name? Well, yeah, that's what it was before. In 2009, Chan's nephew, David Young, and his partner, Joanna Banks, took over the business, aided by Sejong. I'm a custodian of that man's dream in 1953. Man, I'm proud to say I'm leaving it with my head high, the current owner said. Yeah, but you're closing your store down. You're closing it down and you shouldn't have to. It should still be able to operate. There should still be demand. Now, some of what we've got going on is, they should be able to operate, but there's also, the not just retail apocalypse, but you've got the whole office space demand. And when that, the amount of office space that's being occupied in a downtown shifts to vacant, you've just got way less foot traffic in that area of town where you've got the high rises, right? And so from that standpoint, okay, all the little businesses that were once thriving, especially back in like 1953, when the downtown core was the downtown core, you didn't have any work remote. Hey, guys, go home and work from home for the day. Like, what? What are you talking about? We got to come sit at our desk where we've got the business line, the telephone, no computer, no internet, no copy machine, right? 1953. So the restaurant saw a boom after a 2013 remodeling that saw it start to serve a mix of Mexican and Chinese, with distribution deals for its bottled sauces and popular kimchi burritos. During one Food Network appearance, Guy Fieri talked to Young about how the ingredients were chosen and cooked with the staff. The TV personality eventually even deemed the spicy pork kimchi burrito one of the most insane ones he ever ate. Doesn't Guy always say that about everything? It's the best. We wanted to combine the flavors that we like to eat, Young told Fieri. But the buzz around the restaurant, which was featured regularly on the Food Network and had a catering deal with the San Francisco Giants, was not enough to keep its doors open. That's some major PR, and that's a major contract, catering with the San Francisco Giants, right? I mean, it's not like this is just one of those little holes in the walls that, just quietly closing up. It's got a history, right? Human Resources Department. When asked if he would be open to relocating, Sejong replied that he was open to moving to other areas of the city, but it would take support from the city and the right investment. Yeah. Make good choices, right? Unfortunately, this one in 1953, the location, can you imagine? Maybe you can. Maybe you were there. I wasn't even born in 53, but maybe you were in San Francisco at that point in time. Maybe you saw it and recognized that it is wildly different today. I spent a fair amount of time in San Francisco in, did I have kids? I think I did have kids. 30 years ago, I don't know, 25 years ago. My sister-in-law danced for the San Francisco ballet. She was a ballerina. And so my wife and I would go down there, her sister, and have that San Francisco ballet deal. I guess it was a big deal. I'm not really much into ballet. I don't know if you could probably tell, but I'm not really not the sophisticated kind of guy. I'm more of a heavy metal rock, classic rock sort of guy. Ballet. All right. I'll go because supporting my ex-wife, but that kind of thing. I spent some time there, and San Francisco is nothing like the stories that I read now. Nothing. I mean, I walked up and down Market Street. I walked up and down all, Fisherman's Wharf, you name it. Didn't have the homeless. You had some vagrancy, it's always been a little bit grimy, like Seattle. It's very similar to Seattle. It's steep. I remember as a high school student trying to drive my stick shift truck, my Toyota SR5 in the streets in downtown Seattle, because I was making some appraisal delivery or something for my dad. And remember thinking, all right, I'm either going to pop the clutch here and we're going to, spin out, or I'm going to kill it trying to get up this steep Seattle hill. San Francisco, a lot of the same stuff going on. massively different in 1953 versus 2023. And so this, probably third generation kid is just trying to make it. And they've got a big brand name. They've got, exposure by a worldwide food network, the Food Network. And they've got a good contract. And even with all of that, they're like, okay, all of these factors are playing into it and they're having to shut down. And, we're seeing kind of what I'm calling kind of the last bastion of businesses that have been able to stay open. We're starting to see those shut. These are the hold on guys who probably had a lot of savings. Were just able to make it go. They have the most patience. They have the most ability to deal with adversity because they've probably all been broken into XYZ number of times. They've got family history in the store. This kid didn't want to turn, he didn't want to close his store down. This is stuff outside of his control that he can no longer deal with. And in San Francisco, along with downtown, a majority of downtowns are really suffering because we did that whole, let's just close everything down for 15 days, flatten the curve. What a bunch of nonsense that was. Nonsense to me. That's my opinion. You might think, well, Sean, medically, here's the statistics. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care. Should have never shut down the economy. In what world are we shutting the economy down? Shut her down. This will work out fine. I would not have seen the work from home. I just didn't work that one through. But I also didn't work through the fact that, people were going to be stuck for 2.5 years or whatever it was, especially in states like mine where everybody, is so afraid to even go shopping. The whole thing to me is just like, what a bunch of weaklings. Can't you, people wearing masks in their car. What's wrong with you? You're in your own car. Are you afraid of something coming out of the AC unit and getting you? Got the Rona in your AC compressor? What do you got going on there? Just some, insanity. One of the things I didn't see was the massive impact to real estate from the work from home because it was so long. Everybody was at home for so long and all these companies figured out how to make it work. And their employees do not want to go back. So that is another major, major factor to a business like this on top of the homelessness we haven't even talked about the poop factor, right? I mean, you've got people defecating on the sidewalks all day long. It's just, I looked at the poop factor map for this business and, there was quite a few number of cases of excrement on the streets and surrounding area. It's like every street in San Francisco, typically until you get out in the burbs. And that's a further walk because it's further away from services. And so the homeless drug addicts, they don't want to venture that far away from getting free stuff. Right. So they tend to stay in, more concentrated areas, but businesses like this guy, the human resources department, breakfast cafe from back in 1953. Those are the ones that are now, to me, are let's face it, they're giving up. They're giving up because they've dealt with so much nonsense and they've got so many layers. And any one of these layers, okay, the landlord didn't work with them. Okay, but they signed a contract. I understand. I get it. And I've had to work through with multiple friends. Okay. My rent is 20 grand a month, literally 15 grand a month. My doors are not open. I am still paying XYZ for all this overhead. What do I do? Now, restaurants got some money and they got some federal money as well, but it wasn't enough for most of these restaurants with big overhead, especially if you got big rent, like any place in San Fran does. Any big city, Seattle, same thing. You've got expensive rent and that's going to put you behind and you get behind and then you get broken into and then you've got fewer customers. It all kind of goes to that end result, which is can no longer keep open. What was really interesting is the kid that owns the restaurant now basically said, I would open up the restaurant again in another part of the city. There are parts of San Francisco that are doing very well. that have good foot traffic, that don't have all the craziness because of their location right next to either, the Tenderloin or part of the Mission that's, pretty rough, or some other, little pockets that are just doing terribly. Not all of San Fran is like that, but enough areas are where this guy is saying, I mean, if he took a hard look at, okay, make your restaurant in a different city, but most people don't want to do that. They don't want to have to start over from scratch. And this restaurant that's built and started in 1953, it had, they used to call it, the fax might ring factor, which is that if you're just in business for long enough, there's a chance that your fax is going to ring with business because you've just been doing it so long. Somebody's going to call you up and say, we need your services or we need your goods, whatever it might be. And that's a factor that business valuators take into consideration. Just a matter of if you've been established for a long time, you're going to still do some business. You move to a different location where nobody knows you. You got to start from scratch. You got to start from zero. But starting from zero or continuing to bleed out money in your current location with no hope on the horizon, that's where we sit now with a lot of these businesses that you're seeing, especially the smaller businesses. Because if you've been able to hold on through 2023, I mean, there's a good chance you'll make it. But if you've got a homeless encampment, and you've made it this far, okay, maybe you're looking at your numbers going, okay, it does not look positive moving forward. The revenue we've got now is going to be tapped out. Our taxes are going up. Cost of labor is going up. Cost of food is going up. Therefore, yeah, moving forward, it's a no-go. And that is what I think the vast majority of businesses that are currently shutting down are faced with. And then if you got a bunch of homeless folks around, that's not good for business. For a restaurant, hard no-go. We've got an order to go, and we need to get through those 3 homeless people smoking fentanyl out in front of that restaurant. Do you want to go? I'll just sit in the car. Maybe you go and you work through the maze that is addicted drug addicts that are homeless, to get to your Kimichi burrito. Do you want to do that? I mean, a lot of folks don't. And a lot of folks have said, yeah, no. And a lot of businesses are shutting down accordingly. So I know Mayor London Breed in San Fran is coming up with some tough on crime approaches. But to me, it's, we'll see if they, number one, work. And I believe it's a day late, dollar short type approach. It's like the damage has been done. You can't get this situation wrapped back up. You can't just, nope, we're not doing that. Press a magic button. Everybody goes to jail doing fentanyl. You're not doing that. And so from that standpoint, whatever tough approaches the mayor comes up with, tough approaches, I should say, I think you're still going to continue to see this. That's what you're looking at moving forward, because the whole work from home thing, that ain't getting better anytime soon. It's just not. It's going to get a little bit better. You've got major companies going back to work in not San Francisco, in September, an S word in September. So we'll see, but that's just a few companies. The vast majority of downtown cores are like around 50% occupancy. And that's when they've got, those 3 days of business, the businesses are coming back. On other days, it's even less, like 38%. So restaurants like this one that have a long-standing history, they're going to be the ones that are going to be able to last the longest. But at the end of the day, they're dealt with the same numbers everybody else in the downtown cores are, which is the work from home absolutely decimated the downtown core. Going to have to deal with that. Going to have to work with that. And I think we are literally watching the repercussions of that happen with property values in downtown San Francisco, of which I have covered probably 3 or 4 sales now, and at least a couple of foreclosures, a deed in lieu of foreclosure of big high-rise buildings. So you can check that out on this channel if you want to. Also, don't forget, oh man, this got some jackass me put water in this cup. So don't shake your cup around your computer. It's not a good idea. But yeah, reasonable. What I just did on my laptop, I got to clean it now. So spilled a bunch of water. It's water. It's water. All right. Thanks for being here. We'll catch up soon. Talk to you then. Bye for now.